Hey everyone, it is Natalie from Being Intentionally Creative, and we are switching things up today. Instead of working with resin or ceramic resin, resin-crete, we are going to work on making a card. I send a lot of cards out every year, and the reason I do it is because I love sending cards. I look at it from the perspective of we get enough bills and flyers and what have you in the mail, and I think it's nice just to get surprised by a card. I come from a big family, and I send out, and have been for the last many years, sending out birthday cards to family members and sometimes friends. It depends on how busy I am as to whether or not I get time to do cards for everybody. Last Christmas, I had really hoped to get a lot more of my Christmas cards out, and unfortunately, I wasn't planning things in advance like I needed to. This year, I'm planning things in advance, and I'm getting ahead of things so that when birthdays come up, and most definitely before Christmas 2024 shows up, I intend to have my Christmas cards done. I go to extremes when it comes to my cards, and yet I know I don't go to the extremes that some people do as far as the beauty that is created when people make their cards. I've gotten some gorgeous cards that I know have taken people time. And I try and come up with something that's original, that reflects back, especially for my family, to something that reminds them of the past in a good way, right? We always want to remind people of the good things in their lives. We don't want to focus in on what isn't going well. Today, what I'm going to do is take you through a little bit of what I'm working on in regards to the birthday cards I'm making. I've done a few already. Still have a few to make. Now, you know that I have been working with washi tape for a little bit and coming up with different ideas. As you'll see in front of me here, and it's going to be hard to see, this is a shhhh alphabet pad that I get to run through my Big Shot that allows me to cut out letters of the alphabet, and I have no idea if you can see those or not. And maybe what I'll do is, if I can find my little jar, I've already cut some out, so I'll show you what I've done, because these will show up better. Well, this is a number. They have numbers on them as well. So there's an 8, and there is an M I have made, and I'll show you. Well, I don't want that one. That one's the same as the others. Let me find something as they stick together. There's a V. And what I'm doing with these is I'm cutting people's names out, and I'm using either pieces I've made from artwork that I've made on cardstock, and I have also decided to start using the washi tape to make my letters of the alphabet. The other day I took some time and I put this together using washi tape. We have the cardstock, I have the double-sided Recollections tape down, and then I put the washi tape down. And all I did is, this is some new washi tape I have, and I just started with the first roll and went all the way until I had to start repeating. So up here is where we started repeating, and that's all I did. Okay? What I'm going to do at some point, but not just at this moment, I am going to take this and I am going to cut out some of the letters of the alphabet. The biggest thing I learned when I did it wrong the first time was this pattern. It needs to go down upside down in order for these letters to turn out correctly. I have gotten caught a couple of times where I wasn't paying attention and I did it the wrong way, and of course then my letters are backwards and they're not working properly. I will be cutting out letters using this a little bit later in the video, so we'll just set that aside for now. The other thing I'm going to be doing is I am going to be using this stamp pad by Dylusions. We're going to be using this tape. We're going to be using some of the Ranger Distress Oxides. I am wanting to now sort of mix it up a little bit. Instead of taking colors that would actually work well together because of their color matching up. I am trying to bring in some browns. I want to shake this up a little bit, and instead of, you know, using same type colors, I'm trying to see if I can't come up with different color combinations that may not seem to make sense, but when the card's done, it makes sense to me, and it's a way of playing and just trying something different. What else have we got here? Okay, show you these, because we're going to be using these on the outside of our card. I'll show you what I mean by that in a moment. This is one of my stencils. I love this stencil. It's one that gets a lot of use because I think it's just so cool. It's got a lot of dimension to it. It's just ornate. It's a fun stencil. And this stencil is by Finnabair. I have this stencil. Lately I've gotten into wanting to use something that's got writing on it. It doesn't matter that you can't read it. It's just how it accentuates the card that you're making. And as you can see, you have to, if you're using a paste, which is what this yellow is, you've got to clean it off right away or it stays behind like this. This was a Simon Hurley. I can't remember the color, but I didn't get it off fast enough, so it's left some behind on it. What else are we going to use? I have this green Pear stencil paste by TCW. We're going to be using some of that. I also have Distress Mica Stain, Wicked Elixir. We're going to be using that as well. Won't be using a lot of this. I just want to get a little bit of glitz on my card. I have a number of different colors down here. I am not sure if I'm using all of them. We'll see how it goes. I want to show you and give you a couple of tips. So let me just get some of this stuff out of the way. One tip that I don't think I've shared at this point is the paper towels that I use. I break them up and break them up. Yeah, breaking. I rip them up into sections of 4, and then there's smaller pieces for me to work with instead of trying to work with one big piece. So if I haven't given you that tip or you wanted a reminder, that's what I do with these. Okay, setting that aside. So this is just an example of a card. It went horribly wrong as far as I put down painter's tape. I had it in my head that if I used painter's tape on this, that it wouldn't stick to the cardstock. I was wrong. And you may be shaking your head and going, Natalie, why did you think that would work? It's meant for paint, not for paper. Don't do that. Anyway, I want you to see how I had my stencil behind, and then I did the stencil that has the writing on it. And I just put it down and then did the paste on it. You will notice that I've only done the outer edge of this, and the reason being is I don't see the point of doing all of it if what I'm ending up with is going to cover that. So I have my basically the outside of my card. Most of mine are 5 by 7, and then I cut down a piece, and this is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And all I do is I decorate this up and then I put it down. So as you see, I don't need to do the whole underside of this, right? Because you're not seeing all of it. In fact, I could do a lot less than what I've done here. But just wanted to show you and explain why I don't have that filled in. So we have that like that when all is said and done. This tape, this pink tape by Recollections, is what I will use to tape down. And I do that so I don't get this paste or what I'm brushing onto the cardstock onto this back side, because I don't want to. I want to keep this as clean as possible. So we'll be measuring out and then laying some of this down. This isn't the best tape. I find that it sometimes rips too easily and sometimes it doesn't stick as well as I would like it to. Anyway, I have all kinds of it, as you can see. And once I'm done, I'm going to look at getting a different brand of this tape that you can use on cardstock. I have this piece of wood on here, and I'm hoping I'm not shaking my camera too much. This table isn't as sturdy as what it is over there. I use this because my table has a bit of give to it. And if I'm trying to do some designing, sometimes get on the paper as well as I want to because of the fact that my table is a bit spongy. So depending on what I'm doing, I use this piece of wood. Another tip or another idea for you, if you haven't thought of it before, I wrote a book and had it published in 2018, and I have some extra copies here at home. What I've been doing, and I did at Christmas time, which was kind of cool, I punched out some shapes. Actually, I did a sleigh at Christmas time. And I took pages of my book out of my book, and I cut out sleighs. Obviously, this isn't sleighs, but today, what I did was I just cut out some flowers using one of my cutouts I have with my Sizzix Big Shot. And what I should have done, I should have colored the paper before I cut them out, but that's okay. We can always color these up if I wanted to use them on the piece I'm making. I just wanted to show this as an idea to use books that have writing in them to cut out shapes. I think it's kind of, it's neat. You don't know what it says, but it gives you an idea that there's a story behind, or it's just something, it's interesting. It creates conversation. Again, I love something that creates conversation. So we're just going to throw those over there because I really don't want them. I just wanted to give you an idea. So let's just set this stuff aside for now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to measure this. And maybe I'll tell you another little tip. I find sometimes when I'm cutting out my paper that depending on the blade I'm using with my cutters, you get a bit of a rough edge along the outside of it. If I get that, I make that the inside of the card, not the outside of the card. So again, another little tip if you want it. So we're just going to measure this. So this is 10 inches, and I want to know the halfway mark so I can put down my tape, which is going to be the 5. I'm not going to mark this. Now, having said that, I do have another thing that we could do, and I'm wondering if I did it. No, I didn't do it on that. I have this, which allows me to score my paper so I can get a nice crisp fold in my cardstock. This I bought many years ago. It's Martha Stewart. And if I open that up, it's got this so that I can go down the paper. And I'm noticing on the previous piece that I didn't score it first, but I just wanted to show this to you as well. This is great for scoring and it makes that seem so much nicer than if you just fold it over and try and flatten it out. Okay, so let's just do this. Now that's what I mean. This stuff rips too easily, and I don't like that at all. So I have to be really careful with it. Okay, so let's get this out. Oh, see, it ripped again. Ugh. Yeah. Well, that's a good thing to show you, right? So you can see it. Now I'm going to want the straight line. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to get as close to that halfway as I can, and then push this down, and then I'll move my ruler and work on getting this down. Now what I'm going to have to do is add a piece here. So why don't we just use this so that we get as closely lined up as we can. Now the other good thing to do and I don't always do it, but it's a tip for you, is when you put this down, is attached to the table, then things don't move as easily. And then I'll just get that out of the way. So we're done with that for now. I don't think I need it again. Let's just put that up there. I just need to have some space. Now, what I'm going to start with is this. And I'm going to make sure that my stencil does not go over this pink so that I don't have to worry about that. And then I'm just going to take a couple of the colors. So I'm going to start with my cracked pistachio. And my brushes are somewhat color coordinated already. So we're going to do some of this. And we're going to, I figured the two colors I was going to use around the edge was the cracked pistachio, saltwater taffy, and I think I'm going to use tea dye as well. So bringing that brown in. I really don't know why I'm on a kick with brown, but I am. And I'm just going to carefully, and this, I don't look to make these perfect, and I don't use the same color all the way around. I sort of mix it up a little, and hopefully this isn't jiggling too much. I didn't really think about that. Anyway, we'll put a little bit more green over here. Okay, now keeping that there very carefully, we'll put that aside and we will do the saltwater taffy next. Oops. Now, you can make this as dark as you want, as soft as you want, as subtle as you want. It's all up to you. And sometimes I do end up blending the colors together. It just depends on what I'm attempting to, what's the look I'm going for. And if I know specific colors that people like, then I'll incorporate those just to make it that extra special for people. Yeah, I'm really hoping my camera isn't moving too much, because I really don't want this to be extreme. Okay, so there's that. Oops. I know some people tape these down. I'm bad. I don't. Or not very often anyway. And for the tea dye, I think we'll use this one. Put that up. Avoid making things move as much as possible, right? Now, sometimes I find that the colors, these pads, tend to dry up a little bit, or I'm not getting enough of my color on my brush. I'm picking it up now a little bit, and I'm only going to do a little bit of this, but I want to bring the browns into it. Again, I don't know why. It just feels like the flavor of the day, right? You just get into wanting to do something a little different. Now, I didn't really leave any spot for the brown to be on its own, but that's okay. Put a little bit in here. Maybe a little bit up there. And again, make this as, bright as you want, as dull as you want. And we'll just do a little bit in here. I know most of this is going to be covered up, which is unfortunate, not unfortunate. All depends on how you want to look at it. So there we go. Got our design around the outside. And I'm going to do something. I'm going to just very carefully, I'm going to put that under because I really want you to be able to see that. And hopefully with the black being under there, you can make it out a little bit better. Next, and I don't know how much you can see over here really well. We're going to just lift this up because I've got that done now. And I'm just going to move this over a little bit more just so you can see it. Seems a shame that I do this and you can't see the pattern. So very subtle, not harsh. Now, what is going to probably take over just a little bit, and I'm going to take this out because I don't want that getting covered. And I want to bring my water jug down so I can clean off my, we're going to put this down. I don't want any of the top on this. I just want around the edges, so very carefully. And as I say, I'm not going to take a lot. This is a really pretty color. I'm just going to take a little bit of this and go around, and then we're going to have to let this sit. So I just very carefully, and I don't think on that one I did it a lot around on quite a bit of it. Like I did it all the way around. I shouldn't say on quite a bit. I did it all the way around, didn't I? So on this one, I think we're just going to sporadically put it down. I'm not going to put it everywhere. I watch some of the Tim Holtz. Oh my gosh. If you haven't watched Tim Holtz when he does his lives and he shows what people are doing, what I do is nothing. And I don't mean the time and effort that some of the creators on his channel have done. Oh my word. Beautiful. Like beautiful. I just want to bring that around. I don't want it to look too whatever. Okay. So there we go. Put that away. I wipe off my spreader. That's not what it's called. Not the right term for that. But I wipe these off straight away. Get that in the garbage. We're going to lift this up. Okay. Now, the other thing we have to do really quickly, I'm going to let you go. I'll be back in a second, and then we'll carry on as to how we're going to clean that up. Thank you for your patience as I quickly ran off and put that stencil in water so it can soak and I don't end up with. So what I'm going to do is, and I'll show you with the black, we're going to very carefully lift up this tape now so we can take off, I'm trying to get my hands out of the way, the tape with whatever stencil butter's on it, and I'm going to get rid of that piece of tape. And then I'm very carefully going to lift up my card. And then using this, I'm just going to take it down the sides and pull off. And I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. Just to get the excess off the bottom of the card, the sides of the card, I guess I should say. Because once this stuff dries, it's dry. If you've worked with it before, you'll know what I mean. So that's what I do. We're going to put that off to the side. I'll bring it back in a moment for you to see. I just want to get this cleaned off again. And then I just take some water. I have a spritz bottle here full of water. And over there. And then I wipe off my workspace. I also have wet wipes that'll work just as well. In fact, probably better than doing this. So let me get a wet wipe out before I make a really big mess. Okay. And that's, I put down this piece of silicone mat because I didn't want to get all this stuff on my table. And I made it just big enough for what I work on. So that takes care of cleaning that up fairly decently. I always wipe it off with a paper towel when I'm done, because this will stay wet unless, I mean, you can let it air dry for sure, but I just want to move on with my project, so I take a big piece of paper towel and wipe that down. Righty, that can go off to the side. I won't need that again, and we'll just bring this back for you to see. I just want to go across with my thumb. Okay, so there you have it. See, I've now got the writing on top of it, so it just adds a bit of dimension. It just pops things up a little bit. I'm actually pleased. I wasn't 100% sure that this color, this green pear, was going to work, but it actually looks very nice on the card. So great. We're going to have to let that sit. It probably has to sit for about an hour to get fully cured. It may not take that long, but again, an hour's safe. Better to be safe than try and stick something on it and it get messed up. Don't want to do that. Alrighty, that's off to the side. Now, what we're going to do, as I try and get myself organized again. Okay, I'm going to take that and put it aside as well. I think just for, oops, can't show you that side. Secret. Okay, so again, this is the lip side on here. So this is going to go down and I'm going to decorate this part of my card up. Again, I'm going to use the same stencil as I used before. And actually, you know what? So I can see this better, we're going to use the black. I didn't want to, but I'm going to. All right. And then hopefully you can see well too. So we're just going to put that down. And where are we going to start? Now I have some extra colors here. I figured I would use my chip sapphire for the stamps I'm going to use, because I want it to pop, and I'm bad for not picking a dark color to go with a light background or a light color to go with a dark background. I get it confused, and it's so interesting because once I've done it, I go, oh, right, yeah, you know better, right? Apparently, no, I don't. So let's play here. We're going to start with the green again. And you can use whatever colors you want. I just sort of have this thought, and these aren't, some of these colors I haven't worked with on cards before. So I'm just playing. Now you'll notice up in that corner I went a little heavy. And all you do is, it's part of the process. My neighbor, he mentioned that to me once when I was running into issues, and he says, it's part of the process. You know, what you're doing is part of the process of your building, creating, and whatnot. So I thought, you know what? He's got a good point, because then you don't get too wrapped up in, oh, yeah, I wasn't supposed to do that. Well, maybe you were meant to do it. Maybe that's why, you know, it is part of the process and you were meant to do it. Now I am going to tape this stencil down a little bit. I could have taped the paper down underneath. I don't like this stuff. I will just be totally honest with you. I don't like this tape. I don't know why it rips as easily as it does. But 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 it does. Oh my gosh, people. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. It shouldn't be doing it like that. Should not be pulling off like that. So we'll just use the dribs and drabs. Oh man. And it rips in the most opportune place. The most opportune places. And again, so I don't recommend buying this stuff. I really don't. There's a mint tape out by, I don't know who makes it. I've seen Simon Hurley use it, and I'm thinking it probably is better than this. Yeah, not a fan of this stuff at all. Okay, now I've given you my 2 cents on that, okay? I'll let that go. Okay, so now we'll get some of the tea in here. Tea dye is what this is called. I think it's a really pretty color. Rusty Hinge is another really nice color that they've got out that I really like. Like they've got, and their last one they came out with was Scorched Timber, and if I'm not mistaken, is the last of the oxides that Ranger is making. As far as I know. I mean, we change our minds though, right? Okay. This is a beautiful color. It's subtle. It just, yeah, you'll find colors that you absolutely love and then you just run with them. It's got a bit of an orange hue to it, which is kind of cool too. Okay, so now let's move on to our saltwater toffee. And then doing this, you're bringing in the edge of your card as well. You're bringing it into, you know, the design and the colors you have. I'm going to bring in probably some, I think the abandoned coral I'm going to bring into this as well, just to give it a little bit of extra pop of color. Oops. Yeah, so I've moved my paper. That's why they say oh, I really moved my paper. See if I can't line this back up. And you know what? Even if you do move this, sometimes it's like anything else. Does it matter? Maybe not. We'll do that. I'm going to have to hold this down, so I'll put my hand on top to hold everything down. I should have done that. I know better. I do know better. So have you ever done that? You've done something and gone, yep. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that, but I did it anyway. So now we're going to bring in a little bit of the abandoned coral, which is a darker color, just to spice this up just a little bit. I'm not going to go crazy with it. I'm just going to put it in a few spots just to bring it all together and add a little bit of zing to the card, if you will. And blend it over some of the other colors. And there, I think I got everywhere I wanted to. Yep, looks good. I say that, and then you take it off and you miss a spot. Have you ever done that? If I said I had never done that, I would be lying to you. I've done it and gone, oh great, now what? But it gives you an opportunity to come up with something to fix it, right? So let's take this off. Okay, and this I can just throw into a basin I have and rinse the color off, and then we're good to go. One of the great things about their oxides is the fact that it cleans up in water really well. Okay, so we've got this now, and hopefully you can see it and it's coming out. It's subtle. It's got a mix of the colors, not only, so from our, we have this. So three colors are blended in here, and I threw in a little bit more with the, and then we've got the butter cream on it. That green, I am so glad I picked that out. And yes, I'm going to pat my back for that. Okay, so we have this looking like this, and I think this looks really pretty right now. Next, what we're going to do is, I don't need the oxides anymore, so I'm just going to take those and put them over there. And we're going to work with the stamps. Now, I haven't decided what I want to do, what the pattern's going to be, anything like that, which sometimes I like figuring that out. I have this stamp pad, which allows me, and it was a worthwhile purchase, to place, as I open it up. Okay. Put that under there. So I can set this up, and this is from Stampin Up, in case you want to know. I found them on Amazon as well. I'm looking forward, and if they happen to have one out, I'd love to know. I'd really like a 12 by 12 in this. I've seen 10 by 10, 8 by 8. This is a 7 by 7. I'd really like to get a 12 by 12, especially if you're wanting to do something big. And I need to get that magnet off of there, and it's really stuck. You want something bigger than this, but maybe people don't normally make bigger cards. So I'm just going to place this. I like putting it right down into the corner. And part of the reason I do that with some of them is because I will use embossing powder. And I need to know if I put the embossing powder on and it's not enough, where are my marks to be able to get it back in the exact place I need to stamp it again. And these magnets, oh my God, These are super strong magnets. Super strong. So I think what we might do is, I think we're going to take her. So this has a lady's face on it. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. Lady's face. So we're going to do that. And what I tend to do is I will figure out where I want it to go before I put my ink on it, or my oxide, or whatever it is I'm putting on here. I just kind of like to place it. And I'm not one for doing things sort of in a straight or whatever. I just randomly throw. So what we want to do is, it's on an angle, which I'm cool with. I just want to make sure it's the right way up. Okay, so we'll just push that down on there. And then we'll pull it up. And we are using the Chips Sapphire for this. So bear with me. And I'm moving my camera, which I don't like to do. I'm going to have to move my camera, I think. I don't know how this is going to turn out for you guys. I didn't think about that at all. Is this going to move the camera? Nope. I could have placed it somewhere else and I didn't. Okay. The other tool I've gotten is this one. And this is used so that you can get a really uniform stamp done. And I'm trying to be so careful so not to move my camera. So I go just around and up and down and back and forth and whatnot, so I can get a really good stamp done if I can avoid doing things more than once. That's not bad. I don't mind that, but I am going to stamp it again. And what I do is I look for where it seems that I need more. So I feel the eyes need more. And I'm just going to very carefully stamp down on this so you don't have to jiggle. Okay. So let's see if we can't get those eyes. Okay. Okay, now she looks much better. And doing the darker color definitely works better with this. Now, when I've done my letters that I mentioned to you, that I cut out, I do attempt to put these stamps down so I can go around them. Not that it matters. Those letters are fairly big, and if you have a long name, they may not fit. So what I've done in some cases is I've, sort of done a design with the letters, just so that I can make them fit. And I can show you what I mean by that right now, so you get an idea of what I mean. I'm just wiping off my stamp. I love this Chip Sapphire. It's another one of those colors I just love. Okay, I have this note pattern side down, so I know what to do with when I'm cutting things out. So if we have a big name, see how big these letters are? So depending on what the name is, like I'll just move the letters around to get so it can fit the full name on. I've been lucky so far. I've managed to get all the letters on for a person's name. But again, sometimes I have to, circle them around. Right? So that's what I mean. Like, make a design out of it. Nothing. We don't have to make things straight or up and down or side to side. You can weave a name around. So that's what I'm talking about with the names. And if there's a name that's too long, then I just have to find another way of putting their name on it. Or perhaps I don't. Perhaps I just don't do that. Okay. So we've got that done. I don't want another one of her on there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to randomly, because I'm a huge flower fan, obviously, I'm going to put some flowers on here now. So we'll just put that there. And again, random. I don't need this to be, any set way. I just need it to be fun. So we'll stick with our Chip Sapphire because it's looking like that color is looking really nice on that background. So let's do some more. And the other thing is too, as much as I want you to be able to see the design that's on the stamp, you don't have to. Another thing you can do is I've put two colors on the stamp, blending it, if you will. And that's been interesting too with blending colors. Again, what do people like? I think I'm going to do you again. If I do the stamp again, it's still got ink on it, I won't wipe the ink off, but I will figure out, and we'll just do like this. I'm going to be really careful. I'm going to put it down and then not move it and put this back down again and then lift it up. So that's what makes this unit really cool. It's definitely come in handy with some of the stuff I've done. All right. Okay. Oh, that one kind of went a little squirrely. It didn't come out exactly the way I wanted it to. I must have moved it when I picked it up. But I'm going to say to you, it's all part of the process. Okay? All part of the process. And you're probably going to notice it before anyone else in the world notices it. Like I say, I'm really, I notice everything. And it's a good thing, yes. It's also not a good thing if you notice everything, because then you just drive yourself nuts with, you know, oh great, so now what do I do? And you get very hard on yourself, and I don't like that. I think what I'm going to do, I'm kind of going to go off, and hopefully I'm making a good decision. I'm going to put some barn door on this next stamp, and hopefully it's dark enough that you're going to be able to see it. Okay. Let me do that. Now you can also use your hand to do what I'm doing with this paddle. I just find the paddle works really well. Okay, so that's dark enough. Again, wanting to go with dark colors. Now because I messed up on that a little bit, I'm actually going to wipe this off. I wouldn't always do this. This just happens to be one of those days when I messed it up. That's okay. That is okay. Now, if you wanted to, you could overlap some of your stamps, but I'm not going to do that. I don't really want to, but I'm going to put you up here like that. So I think what I'll do is I'll stick with just the two colors. I don't want to put too much on this, so I'll just mix and match with the two colors that I've got going on here, this barn door and the chipped sapphire. Okay, looking cool. Excuse me while I just quickly get a drink of water. Thank you for your patience. Okay, let's clean that up. All right. Put that over here, and then we're going to use one of the other big stamps. Can you see that? Oops, there we go. Okay. I'm just watching my battery power. I think I might end up losing it. So I'm going to do this like this. And maybe what I'll do is, because of how this is, I'm just trying to think, that's going to hit the blue. So I think I'll do this side in the barn door, and I'll do the other side in the sapphire. So you can see how we can take a piece. Okay. Let's see how this turns out. Self-expression. You do what works for you. You do you, as Tim Holtz would say. You do you. Now, did I get that right side up? I sort of did. My mushrooms are facing this way, and that's okay. I like that. And you'll notice, well, you may not be able to see, but there's sort of a blending of the two colors. the barn door, and the chipped sapphire. So I think we're just going to do it again a little bit more on this. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. I think that looks pretty cool. So I'm just going to let this dry. I'm going to plug my camcorder in because I know the battery power is getting low on this, and then we'll come back to finish it off. I'm back. I did a couple of things while we were on a bit of a break so that I could get some stuff done. You'll notice that I have cut out the letters now. I was able to, out of that piece I had, and that's what's left, I was able to get every character except one. I didn't get them all, but this is what we've ended up with. And now you can take and make a name out of it, make a word out of it, and it gives something different. It's a little more fun to have something that's just got a different design on it. Now you don't have to use washi tape. I just got on a bit of a run with it, and that's why I've been doing it. You could use cardstock that had a design on it, a pattern design. Like you could use anything. I've got so much washi tape that I want to be able to use it, and that's what I'm doing now. And I wanted to show that to you. You could also, if you wanted to, you could use some of these letters and put them down on your paper, and then doing something like this, using a distress oxide. So I'm just going to push some of these out of the way, and we'll just do the E, and hopefully this will show up. Not sure if that's going to show up on there or not. No, it kind of did. Right, so you have the use of the stencil that way, if you want. You don't have to. And depending on, what size, if you had a small die, you could cut pieces out of this. It's still usable. I mean, I've got some small hearts that we could cut out of there. I probably have some small pieces I could cut out of there very easily if I wanted to. So that's just something for you to see, just another idea for you. As I said, you don't have to do this. You could use cardstock and come up with this. Just knowing that the letters are a little bit big. And the other thing I haven't tried yet, I'd like to, is to use my Cricut to see if I can't cut these letters out and whatnot. So I'm not 100% sure, but again, it's another idea. I have this now. I love how this looks. I think this came out really well. I love that the background colors are subtle, and that what's up front is, bright and bold. You could embellish some of these. I know with sometimes what I've done is I've taken little crystals I have, and I'll put them, like we've got the center of these flowers, so you could put those on. If you have glitter glue, you could put those in. You could, if you wanted to, totally up to you, you could outline these, these triangles, or this, or part of her face, or even part of this mushroom down here. You could outline them and give them a bit of shading. If that's something you've done before and you want to play with it a little bit. You could do some coloring on this. You could color some of this in if you wanted to. Like, the possibilities are endless. I'm just sort of giving you some ideas and showing you what I've done. The only thing I'm disappointed in is this triangle down here, because it's slightly blurred and the others weren't blurry. So a good lesson for me not to do that again. I've had it work in the past, but it doesn't work every time. So just to keep that in mind. Now, another idea I'm going to give for you, and it was something that came to me just one day out of the blue, and I don't know why I didn't think of it before. You can get, and let's see, let's just test that. Okay, that's dry, so I don't have a concern putting that down. So let's just put that like that. I'm going to dump my letters off on my table over here because I want you to be able to see this, and you're not going to be able to see it there. So let me just throw some stuff out of the way. Okay, so let's just sort of center that a little bit. You could always make this top piece smaller too. I've gotten into a roll of having a certain size, but a 4x6 of that would maybe be nicer because then you'll get more of this. I am having fun with my technology. We're back at it. Okay, so here's my card. In some ways, I wish I had made this just a little bit smaller just because I really like how this looks. Next one I do, I might make it a little smaller. But you can see though, I mean that, to me, you know, start taking my taste, but I like how this looks. And then what I'll do is work on using either those letters that I've just done and put a name on here. And I might embellish this a little bit, as we talked about what can we do to embellish this. We could, within the triangles, we could color those in. Trying to find a color, you could do blue, right, to match it up. Obviously, you'd have to with a marker or a pen. Now, I will mention to you that if you decide that you want to use an alcohol ink or something like this on this piece, I highly recommend that you take it off of this and you put this down on a piece of paper that's not going to matter. I know with some of the pens I've used, it's actually gone through to the other side. And if you have this sitting on something, it may not go through. So if you attach this and then did it, it may not go through this side, but you don't want to take that chance, because I've done that where all of a sudden the pen, marker, whatever I've been using on this has actually leaked through, and then it marks up the inside. Don't want that. So do all you want to this first and then attach it to the front of your card. Just to be sure, and make sure that if you're using the oxides that they have completely dried before you start touching these, because I've run into that too. You may have to angle it to see if you've gotten, like, if it's all dry or not, but that's another thing to keep in mind. And the distress inks, they're going to take a little bit more time than what the actual oxide would. So we set this aside so this paste could dry. We haven't filled in the whole thing because we didn't need to. And if you weren't doing what I've done here, now you have space to put in a totally different design. So again, something else to think about. Just giving you some options here. On the back, you could put your name, Made with Love, depending on, what you want to put for who it's going to. And you could, in fact, do the whole front and back with the same design. Again, another option. What do you want people to see? How, extravagant you want to go as far as your design is concerned. And you could even accent the inside of this. So I'm going to show you what I've done on my birthday cards. I got a stamp to be able to do this. Hopefully, can you see that? It says happy birthday, and it's a bunch of gnomes. This may not be the best because we've got yellow, green, and then this red in the middle. And what I've been doing is I've centered this stamp, and underneath at this end of it, I've said you're never too old to color, because you're not. I don't care how old you are. If you've got crayons and coloring books, and or you get a birthday card that says you're never too old to color, you're never too old to color. It's fun, it's relaxing, and why not? Why not? And if someone thinks you're foolish, give them something to color and crayons and say, let me know when you're done this if you still think it's foolish, because it's not. So that's what I've been doing in my birthday cards this year. And something else I'm going to share, this is something specific to my family. My mom, when we were growing up, used to wrap coins in tinfoil and put them in the cake so we could find them when we were cutting in the cake. And it was always what was the biggest coin you would get. So initially, she'd start with pennies and nickels and dimes, and then they went to quarters, and then eventually loonies and toonies, until the point she wasn't making cakes anymore. But this year, in memory of my mom, who would have been 100 this month, I actually did that for my siblings. I took a quarter, wrapped it up in tinfoil, and attached it to the piece. So if you've got something special like that and it has meaning for your family or a friend, like whatever it is, you know, include it with the card. It makes it that much more special because you've thought about something that means something to someone else. So I'm just throwing that idea out to you. Now, sort of my last little tip. So we've looked at that. You could decorate that. You could decorate the whole thing. My adhesive foam dots. I'm sure you've all seen these. So here's a bunch. I love using these, and I love the fact of being able to sort of make my card look 3D. I could take, and if I can find them, what did I do with my little flowers? As I search for them here, I don't know what I did with them. Because I was thinking what you could do. Oh, this is going to drive me nuts now. Let me find them. Oh, they're there. Totally opposite side of the desk. Okay. What you could do if you wanted to, if this theme doesn't really work with it, but you could start with that one and then put one like a dot in the center and then build it up if you wanted to, as my fingers get in the way. But just an idea to build things up. And I'm sure if any of you have made cards, you've probably done that. You've seen it. And just another idea. One thing I decided to do, and I don't know why I didn't think about this a long time ago, was using, so if I use all these dots up, which is, you know, great, I've done that. And I'm trying to think of which box I got these out of. I think I took them out of this. So I just want to see if I've got any that are empty. No, I don't. Not in that box. So let's say you use up all these dots in here. Get rid of that. Okay, you've used up these top row of dots. Now what you've got is the leftover foam, right? You've taken out those dots, but now you've got that leftover foam. Well, I started using that as my my foam to put under. I mean, no one's going to see what you're putting under the card, right? As far as I'm concerned. So for something like this, so I use all of it. That's basically what I'm trying to explain here, is you get to use all of it then. So you're not wasting any of this. So I would take this piece, which is left over from one of the others I've been using, and I just cut it down to size for what I need. I'll take the tape off of one side, I'll place it down, and then I'll pull the other one off, and then I'm using all of this. I'm not just using part, you know, and throwing the rest around. And I don't know why I didn't think about that a long time ago. It's only been in the last, 3 or 4 months that it was like, I mean, it's double-sided, it sticks, no one's going to see it, who cares, right? So then you're using all the product. Just an added little tip for you. I think that's it. I don't know if I'm going to do any more to this, so I'm not going to stick it down to my card just yet. The other little trick that I've been doing, and just before I let you leave, so I'm just trying to think what color would I want to use. There's not a lot of green on that, so